Joining the program today. We are going to be talking about detox. And if you have your little booklets handy, you could certainly open those up. We've got about 17 ideas on detox, and we'll be talking about a few of them in the time that I have. I know some of you personally, some of you are new friends from joining the WAVwatch community and working with my products. So I wanted to thank you very much. Just a little bit of information about me on the side. And then I've already mentioned that we have the WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics group, and that you can also go to WAVwatch.com to see a lot more information. And some people are not seeing that we have a blog. So I've taken quite a bit of time and written some articles or had some of them written also about the WAVwatch. So if you've got some questions, the blog is a good one to go through articles and images and pictures and as many things as I could share that way. So everything's as educational as I can get it. Of course, I have to tell you about my disclaimer, and it's something that I start with every time, but we are using low risk acoustical frequencies. So that's all the WAVwatch is. And I can just say it really carefully. It's like a song player, it's music. It does sound like a bee buzz. And sometimes some of those frequencies would even make a beat, or they can be very irritating just to listen to. But they are actually acoustical frequencies that should not bother you. Now, I have had one person that did think that it bothered, him after he played Inflammation, Pain, and Trauma all night. But that's the only negative I've gotten so far. But again, these are acoustical frequencies that we hear all day long. And the WAVwatch is not diagnosing anything. It's not quote unquote treating anything, curing anything, preventing anything. We're trying to say protecting. We have to be pretty careful about some of our wording. It's not a licensed medical products. Acoustical frequencies are considered experimental. It is not approved as a medical device. And anytime you give me a testimony, it's volunteer. Nobody's being reimbursed for their testimony. Now, of course, when you look in our booklet with 850 ideas, you'll see that all of those they look like quote unquote common terms. Some of them might have a medical designation like multiple sclerosis, but it is not saying that we've diagnosed you with that. It's saying that we're using that terminology just so that you can be able to refer and find something that you might want to use a little bit easier. I'm really trying to go to the next page. There we go. I think the WAVwatch is kind of like the wave of the future, and wave is waves and vibrations. So that describes it really easily. There's hundreds of sound frequency. There's no cords, messy wires, and patches. And I have had some people tell me that they are really appreciative of that because there are some other tools out there. There's many kinds, but they do have a few more things to do, a little bit harder to use, a little bit messier, that kind of thing. The WAVwatch is not connected to the internet. And I think that is the biggest feature that I hope that you are appreciating, because nobody in our group normally is going to be thinking that EMFs are good. And most people are getting very leery of all of the technology that we're using that is hooking us up to EMFs. So the WAVwatch has its own little battery, and it just makes its own little music right on your wrist. There's no internet again. Also, there's no monthly fee. It's all inclusive, even for hard of hearing people like me. That's why it's really neat, because some people that might be deaf might not be able to use some of the other pieces of equipment because they can't hear. So this gives everybody the possibility to use it. And it's very cost-effective self-care. With 850 ideas, you can't beat that. Now today, as I was starting this, I was really surprised to find this website that was so against detox. That's what we're talking about today, is detox. And so sciencebasedmedicine.org criticizes And he just said that detox is a legitimate medical term that's been turned into a marketing strategy, that all of these alternative ideas that we're going to be talking about, everything is designed to treat a non-existent condition. And then look what it claims. It even claims, I copied this, you can see how I copied it. It says that our bodies are accumulating toxins, so we need to detoxify. That is unscientific, according to this particular website. And it said that the person who had the website was a pharmacist and, claimed to be a pharmacist and worked with all kinds of medications. And he said that the best thing was to go to the medical community and be detoxed when you needed it. I'm not sure about that. I'm just saying that there is some negative information out about detoxing. But almost everybody who's taken the time to come on this particular program are going to be interested in detox, in my opinion. This website even says it had 5 or 6 places. It hated Dr. McCullough. It didn't like Dr. Oz. And here's a quote. Dr. Oz is the biggest purveyor of health pseudoscience on television today. More often than not, his health advice is wrong, except when it comes to detox, when it's consistently wrong. So they admit on one hand that we're accumulating toxins, but they don't want you to do anything about it. So doesn't that kind of sum up our life today? We're not supposed to do anything about it. Yeah, we're aware of it, but don't do anything about it. So gals, I'm so glad that you're on today because I know you're doing something about detox and it's huge. It really is huge. So I've pulled up a couple of stats that I'm just blown away about because I didn't really know the numbers. I guess I drive to work every day and I just found out, I drive about 20 miles, 25 miles. I just found out that my tires, are producing about 2 grams of tire dust a day. And bus routes can produce hundreds of grams a day. And I'm trying to, in my mind, think how big that is. But they're actually saying that this is 1.5 million tons of tire particles enter our environment every year. And then part of that goes into the ocean. And I guess that was, a stat I'd missed. We know about a lot of different things that were, are in the air, but evidently this is getting to be a bigger and bigger topic. And so they're trying to develop different tires that maybe don't shed. That's another term that might not shed as much, that might not be grinding off and producing all of this tire dust. So it's huge. It's absolutely huge that we're breathing. But of course, one of the things that we're supposed to do every day is get some exercise, breathe, that kind of thing. And yet you go outside and you're overwhelmed with, oh, wow, look at all this tire dust. Look at all the things that are in the air. So it's a catch-22, isn't it? And again, I did not agree with the last slide about the scientific website, quote unquote, that said detox there was nothing scientific about it. There is information from thousands of years of history about detoxing our bodies, and every country in the world has detox information. I thought as long as we were talking about tire dust being in the air, that it would be interesting to see some of the toxins or the places. This is an air quality map. And you can actually click in, when you do it, and it'll take you right to where you live and show you the air quality. So, of course, we all know about China already, and you can see that the color over here, there's lots of red spots. So very, very polluted. And we've got a few ourselves over on the West Coast in Los Angeles, heavy pollution there. So our quality of air is very different throughout the world. And we're starting to get, built up with toxins. We're not in the danger stage, quote unquote. And of course, the information is that we shouldn't be worried about it. But I beg to differ. That's why we have Detox on the WAVwatch. A couple other things that I put together. Just because I wasn't really for sure. I couldn't rattle this information off. I can't know every statistic, but the oxygen, we're breathing in about 20% oxygen, and then we exhale, of course. So we're getting 5% of volume is converted. And human beings use about 100 gallons of pure oxygen a day. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So there isn't anywhere that you could go that you wouldn't be breathing in toxins. I have a dehumidifier in my basement, and I get, some water out of it. And one day I thought, well, I'll just water my plants with it. And I decided to muscle test or do kinesiology on the quality of the water that had been taken out of my air. And my muscle testing was, no, this will kill your plants. This isn't good, So just another little example to remind me that even pulling, something, the excess moisture in my home out of the air, it's full of toxins. Again, you cannot go anywhere. You can't breathe without getting in something. You can't, drink without getting in something, that kind of thing. So of course we have to be detoxing. And most of us are on that trail. We're learning about detoxing all the time. So another idea is, of course, that our heart is going to be pumping all of this blood all over our body. And so it pumps in one day 7,200 liters of blood. So we get something in our body, it's pumped all over, obviously. But I thought that was just maybe something to remind us. I mean, we can't breathe. We can't go without oxygen. For what, 3 minutes? We've got to breathe, but we are going to have toxins in there. We've got to keep working on that. So this is what I did on the WAVwatch. I put together a list of things that I could find and some things that I could work with just a little bit and create myself, and came up with a detox playlist. So depending on which version of the WAVwatch you have, all you have to do is just find the icon that says detox. That's it. Now, the watches have a playlist, they have a list A to Z, all the files A to Z. And I have had some people try to set up playlists using the files A to Z. And I want you to be very careful about that. And this is one reason why. Because somebody did this, they went through my A to Z file of 850 some ideas, and they didn't use the icons at all. They just went to the file, and when they saw something they liked, they put it in their favorites list to play later. And they did have 70 ideas in there, so that's quite a bit of stuff. But I said, well, did you get the EMF detox? And they said, yeah, I did see that one. Well, did you get the chemical detox? No, I didn't see that one. Did you get the respiratory detox? No, I guess I didn't see that one. So by doing it that way, what I'm trying to say is you're going to miss that I have 17 ideas in there about detox. And wouldn't you rather play all of them? Because I just went over how toxic our life is. We all know. I don't have to tell you. You all know toxins. So get as many of them as you can by playing the icon that's labeled detox. Now, it's okay to maybe do some muscle testing or know that you've been exposed to something and you want to play that loop or put it on a loop for a little bit longer, but still make sure that you play all of them at some point in time first, is what I would suggest first, and then put it on a loop if there's one you want to work with specifically, because they're all interconnected. There are frequencies for all of them that jump back and forth that are similar, and they just give you a better and better possibility of detoxing. Example, my brother, I remember when we were growing up, we actually lived on a farm and had cows, and we had a dipping vat, which was chemicals. Can you believe this? And the animals had to walk through this vat, and then they would be, the water had different chemicals in it to quote unquote, keep the bugs and gnats and spray, all kinds of things off of them. But my brother fell in that whole vat. He was completely immersed. Now, we live 60 miles from a doctor, and it was very, very hard to figure out what to do. So he went back into another bathtub. He went to the shower. We hosed him down for seriously a couple of hours. That's all we could do at that point in time. And everybody might have a story of how they were, they got into some chemical or, the child, that kind of thing. But today, we actually have the WAVwatch. So if somebody was exposed to something, I would do as many things as possible. You might have to go to the doctor, obviously, if it was that kind of a thing, and really get some huge detox. But you've got something that you could wear to the doctor if it was that severe a problem. But the WAVwatch is not made for severe cases. It is made to just keep us clean as possible as we can throughout the week. Again, there are so many ideas. I encourage you to be playing detox at least once a week, and maybe more if you can. I was kind of shocked by this statistic here, and I don't know if you have seen it either. 1 in 20 patients die from anesthesia within that first year. It may not get blamed on the anesthesia, but it's in their system. Maybe they haven't tried to detox from it. Maybe they're looking at some poor information, because we can be trying to detox. And basically, 1 in 20, I know I'm repeating it, I want to make a point, 1 in 20 die within a year. They don't just die within the week so that it gets blamed on anesthesia. It might take a longer time. And then that number increases to 1 in 10 patients who are under anesthesia, who are 65 years and older, die within the year. So anesthesia is huge. And these are some symptoms. So that's why I have an anesthesia detox on the WAVwatch. It happens to be in alphabetical order, but I was also thinking, oh my gosh, I really didn't know how bad this was. So those patients, obviously, they're going to know in the hospital, if they're having some trouble with those. But when it's problems that are happening in the next year, people might not even think, and the medical community, the doctor, might not even think that, oh yeah, they had surgery 6 months ago. Maybe this is lingering from some of the anesthesia. So again, huge death rate to me. Nausea, vomiting, respiratory distress, hypothermia, hallucinations, seizures, mental, physical problems, dementia, brain injuries, and of course, death. So we've got a problem here. So I'm not trying to scare you and say you shouldn't have surgery, but what about making sure that you have looked up on the internet all the things that you can do to prep yourself before you have anesthesia, and what you can do after you have anesthesia to make sure that you're supporting your body. Don't just wait on the medical community to give you some ideas, because they're not going to be able to. So, they're not going to say, hey, this herb, this type thing could be helpful. Like, I would say purification. I hope you can see me. I know I'm kind of little, but what about a liver detox? This is a homeopathic. They might not tell you there's foot patches, there's all kinds of teas. The list is endless for different teas and things. So you've got to do the digging on that and find something else that you can do. And of course, now that you have the WAVwatch, you have something without even thinking too hard to do that, and you could do it anywhere. Sometimes the other things, we have to order them, we have to go somewhere and shop and get them. And if they're not right in our house or in our car as we're going somewhere, we might not have it. But you've got the WAVwatch, so I hope you're using it. Then the next one is chemtrails. That's on the WAVwatch. And I'm not trying to laugh too much, but of course, I could stir up a lot of controversy, and I'm not saying they're real. I'm not saying they're real or not. I'm not sure exactly how I'm saying it, but of course, all of us have looked into the sky and thought, "Oh, I don't remember this 40 years ago. This doesn't look like what I remember as a child." We'd see a jet go over and hear the sonic boom, and that was the end of it, just one little trail. But now we're just overwhelmed. So I do have a story. Some of you have seen my biomeridian that I screen with, and you've been in my office. All of you have not, but it's a computer system, and I think I've showed a picture of it before, and it works with about 50,000 frequencies. And believe it or not, 15 years ago, I had frequencies for chemtrails on it, what they thought, what the quote unquote conspiracy theory was, that there were certain chemicals or heavy metals and things like that in the air. So I had that. And I had an office out in the country at that point in time, and I didn't have walk-ins because I lived out in the country. Well, one day somebody actually drove into my yard, knocked on my door, and asked to be screened. He'd heard about me. And so this big guy comes in and we start working, and I'm just making a little bit of conversation, but I couldn't help but notice that everything that came up on him had to do with my folder of chemtrails. So pretty nonchalantly, I'm going, have you heard of chemtrails? And remember, this was 15 years ago. And this guy went ballistic. I'll never forget it. It's very scary in my mind still, because he jumped up and he hit the desk. He didn't cuss at me, but he screamed. And he said, "Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing?" And it was just almost a rabid response. And so I got him to calm down just a little bit. And he shared his story. And he said, my friends and I lived in Arizona, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the town, but it was close to a military area, and they were suspicious of chemtrails. So they started sneaking as close as they could to this chain link fence with their little cameras. At that point in time, no cell phones, they had the little cameras that went through the chain link fence, and they were wearing camouflage and putting black on their face, and sneaking up and filming these airplanes taking off that they thought had chemtrails in them, had something going on. They were just suspicious, and they were just trying to track it down. Well, these pilots started disappearing. That's what they noticed. And then they found some obituaries of some of these pilots. So they started to get really afraid. And then they felt that they had gotten sprayed or contaminated in some way. So they fled. They just broke up and they fled. And this gentleman, they thought fleeing for their lives. And this gentleman moved from Arizona to Missouri, and the name of the little town was Humansville, Missouri. Can you believe that? Out in the middle of nowhere. And he's there for a couple of years, and finally he comes out and tries to get some help. And the first person he sees is me. And I'm going, "Oh, have you heard of chemtrails?" So I hope you like that story, because it sticks in my mind. But everybody's got a chance. They've got a choice to know. Maybe we don't even need to know that it has a label. We're worried about things that are in our sky that shouldn't be. So here's some of the things that they are measuring in our air that's coming out of the sky. No matter where it comes from, it's there. So we've got aluminum, that's the worst one, barium, cadmium, nickel, mold spores, yellow fungus, mycotoxin, and then radioactive thorium. So huge amounts of things. Now, aluminum from the air can attack the nervous system, causes disturbed sleep, nervousness, memory loss, headaches, emotional problems. Aluminum is all over, whether it comes from the air or we've gotten it some other way, we have aluminum in our system. But I thought this was an important statistic if you're, kind of looking and learning about some ideas of toxins that are in the air. In Mount Shasta, aluminum levels are high enough to kill the rodents. The levels are off the chart, with the highest being at 4,800 times the maximum contaminate level for drinking water. I'm reading that word for word. And then in a recent snow sample, the level was 100 times for aluminum in the snow. So we have toxins coming from somewhere. And of course, on the top of a mountain, all you can think of is being sprayed or chemtrails or whatever word you want to use. So do be aware that we need to be detoxing from chemtrails, a couple of different ideas, from chemicals, from heavy metals. And we all know this, but the WAVwatch is just providing some ideas for you. Now, we also have EMF and electrosmog frequency set, and we've actually talked about this several times because most of us are extremely worried. And I just thought I'd put a couple things on this time, and maybe people could share at the end if they found something else that they really think works for EMF protection. We've talked about turning off your Wi-Fi, making sure there's nothing that's in your room at night when you're sleeping that's, hooked up, that everything's turned off, that your phone isn't beside your ear. And heavens to, I've known people, especially younger girls, that are sleeping with their bra all night long too. That seems to be a younger thing that I'm really upset about. So we don't want any of that EMF touching us at all. But a couple of other ideas that I just wanted to remind you of maybe. So I love stones, and you can actually be decorating with stones if you want to. It just told me my internet is a little unstable, so I hope you're all seeing and hearing me okay. So stones around your home can be really great. They actually do have a frequency. You can buy stones on the internet, especially quartz stone, according to their frequencies. I don't know how you know which frequency you need, but you can buy them, the different size, different cut, different shape. Those stones will have a different frequency. So you can actually wear different stones for different problems. You could have them in front of your TV, underneath your bed, right beside your Wi-Fi, all those kind of ideas. So don't be afraid to buy some stones and actually have fun with them. So it's a great tool. I've got them all over my office and love them. So hopefully you can find something that intrigues you. Now, just the opposite would be that I think we've forgotten about plants. So plants can help protect us from EMF radiation too. And I was so glad that my memory got jogged on that. So I didn't know that I knew that sunflowers are used after nuclear disasters to soak up radiation. So different sunflowers, aloe, may help with EMF related damage. It says specifically for sperm in men. I thought that was very interesting. So I have gone to several homes in the past and had just kind of marveled or was amazed at the fact that the home didn't have any plants in it. We travel a lot now. We're gone. Our plants may die. And so people have less and less plants in their homes. So if you have that possibility, if you're a plant person, really feel free to add some plants to your homes because they are detoxifying. Obviously, that's why we want to go in a forest and, get all the clean air and the, breathe because of all the plants and trees and everything that they're doing for us. So it's the same thing in our home, but we've forgotten that because again, I see so many homes today that have no plants in them. And then people are proud of it. Yeah, I don't have any plants. There was some mold in the soil. That's what I heard just recently. And well, I think I'd rather work with that, clean the soil out a little bit, repot the plant or get a different plant, but continue to have some plants in my homes because they are so good. And if you can't do that, how about the crystal idea? So, and obviously you have the WAVwatch now. So I've had a couple of testimonies on women who say that when they run the EMF detox idea, that it actually does help with their anxiety and their emotions. So I forgot to put that particular testimony in there, but it does some people are able to feel that effect. So we have some heavy metal detoxes. And again, who knows what kind of heavy metal we have in us. I wish I could rattle off more, and maybe that's not a good term, but there are so many toxins, sometimes from some of the testing that we do. And I see that the one I wanted to mention isn't even in this little example, but gadolinium is one that is in our dyes. And I actually had a young man who was about 48 years old who went and had something done to his knee, had an MRI done with the contrast dye, CAT scan with the contrast dye, excuse me. And within a day, he could not walk and he could not talk. And so for the last 6 years, he has talked like a caveman, a little bit of grunting, and then, you know, problems with things coming out of his mouth and not being able to close his mouth. It was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. And when I tested him on my biomeridian that I have mentioned, the first thing out of 50,000 ideas that it told me was gadolinium. And his wife just started crying, and she said, I knew it was the contrast. I knew it was. I knew it was. Now, I can't say that's a medical diagnosis, but that was pretty interesting. So be very careful when you have any kind of testing, anything that's going to just, you know, on purpose, put heavy metals into your system. And so some of the tests that we are required to take or asked to take are doing that, and very dangerous. So heavy metal detox, that's a great one. Do that a lot. You can also do an intestinal detox. That's on the WAVwatch. All you're doing is playing it. And I see I don't even have my WAVwatch on today. I think I held my hand up, but I didn't have my watch on. But anyway, basically on your intestinal detox, it's just click a button and let it run for 8 minutes, let it run through again. But also you can try a natural gut cleanse. And one of the easiest things, intermittent fasting, drink a lot of warm water when you get up, don't eat any sugar for breakfast, actually have chai tea mid-morning, have some broth during the day, avoid snacking, obviously, take some prebiotics, minimize your stress, go to bed early. So, you know, that's an easy one. How hard is that? You can order different things. You can try different things. You know, there's herbs, there's all kinds of things. Myself, I'm a tea drinker. I love some of the different kinds of teas, and I grow some of my own plants for making tea. But mostly my daughter-in-law does that, and she gives me teas that are detox type teas. So who knows who your go-to person is? I should say again, thanks, Tammy, for that. But it's very, very good to do more than one thing. We can't over-establish the fact that we're toxic. So we have 2 more detoxes. We have a liver and kidney frequencies for detox ideas, but here's a couple of different ideas for your liver detox. So I drink a lot of lemon and honey when I get up in the morning, and it's great. Sometimes it's honey and vinegar, but those are different things that are helping detox. Another idea, which I saw all over the internet, was to cleanse your kidneys with baking soda. So that's a pretty common idea. How hard is that? And it was, I think, a two or 3 day time limit. And it was take a half a teaspoon of baking soda the first day, take a quarter the second day, and, you know, finish up the third day. I mean, it was really, really easy. So you can find that without looking really specifically how to do that. We need to be taking care of our liver and kidney because they are working to detoxify things. They're part of our detox system, and we've got to keep them up in order to keep detoxing. We also have a lymph detox. And some of you see that that's scattered throughout some of the frequency sets that I have. And so any chronic disease and every infection is indicative of an overwhelmed lymphatic system. So that's a huge one to do. If you don't know what else to do, do the lymphatic system. That's a great one if you're working on detox, or maybe you only have a small amount of time. put the lymph and detox on a loop, or go to the whole lymph folder and play all of those different little frequency sets. Of course, we've got heavy metals. We've got all the bacteria and the mold, the parasites. Our lymphs help with the old immune cells that start festering. And a lot of people have swollen lymph nodes. They know it, so they know something's in there. And then we also have toxic byproducts. So the lymph has to clean all those out. So that's a really good one to be aware of and play. So I hope you're seeing how we need all of these all of these detoxes. We don't just pick one and play that one. We need to play them all. Everything is so connected. So another way on the lymph, basically, I just saw this little chart. Drink water, do some deep breathing, do a lymph massage, get some physical activity, and use some natural herbs. Use the WAVwatch, use some tea, use some detox patches, use some homeopathics, use some essential oils. The list goes on and on of things that we can do naturally. So hopefully most people have gotten something around, and they have things in their house to do that with. And then here's another idea. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. And again, it's great to share ideas. Somebody may have something even better. I'm just sharing some ideas that I could quickly put in on the PowerPoint. But I'd also think that you should be playing Mercury Detox 1 and 2. Again, it's in the loop, play it all. And then here's a heavy metal detox smoothie. So why wouldn't you want to try that once in a while? So in case you haven't caught up with it, cilantro is one of the best things ever for detoxing. So if you like cilantro, they say about 2 bunches a month, which is not very much, can be very, very helpful for detox. So I mean, load it up on all your different kinds of food, especially your Mexican food, and you've got a natural detox right there. So that's why I was so concerned with the pharmacists saying that detoxes don't work, that they're problematic, that they cause more problems, that all these doctors in the news who are suggesting detoxes are unbelievably wrong. It just does not make sense. So hopefully you are doing your own detoxes of some kind. So make sure that you've got something in mind. So I just try to give you some ideas. Here's another one, multiple chemical detox. That's the association that it is worked with. And again, I can't say it is a medical diagnosis that the WAVwatch detox these. It's just what it's made for. And this frequency list has been around. Some of the frequencies that I've been using have been measured for over 100 years. So they have changed very little in that time. And so there is a lot of background and a lot of testimonies in different ways, not necessarily from the WAVwatch, but testimonies that frequencies do help. So we're looking at all of these kind of things that are in our atmosphere, we're just penetrated with, that we are full of, whatever word you want to say when you're talking about your need to detox. Our bodies are overwhelmed, and some people much more than others. I really like doing these little presentations because I learn new statistics. I didn't know there were 7,000 chemicals in cigarette smoke. That was a new one for me. I mean, I knew lots, but 7,000 was interesting. I saw that on several websites. And then at least 250 of these are carcinogenic are dangerous, and 69 of those are carcinogenic. So that's obviously why we need to be detoxing. If you're going to be a smoker, at least be preventive and do something. So we've got nicotine detox, cravings, and withdrawal. So hopefully you'll be able to get off of that. Maybe change your habit there a little bit, because that detox just is so necessary because all of these chemicals just become overwhelming to your system after a while. I mean, how much can our body take? You know, everything from the air, we put in a cigarette, we drink something, we drink our aspartame diet pop, and we expect our body to fight all of it. It just can't. It just can't cleanse everything. It needs some help every day, every day, every day. All right, so here's some more carcinogens in cigarettes, you know, arsenic, benzene, nickel, the list goes on and on. So when you talk about 7,000, I couldn't even begin to list them, but carcinogens are huge. I think radiation detox is huge also, and it kind of ties in with the EMF and electrosmog detox, but maybe a little bit different way. And so that one is covered. There are some homeopathics for radiation detox. We have many herbs, but I think one of my favorite ones is just a detox bath to help with a lot of different ideas. And there are so many that are just simply saying Epsom salt. Some of them were a little bit off. If you Google a recipe, they were just saying Morton salt and baking soda, and never do that. You want to use an Epsom salt or a natural salt, but all the salts, there are so many recipes that are really good. But if we're talking about radiation, you've just had x-rays, you've just been through the airport, you've been flying, iodine is my favorite one. And sometimes I can't take a detox bath, so I'll put the iodine on my skin. But, different ways to do different things. Clay baths, we have clay detoxes. Some people really love those, some do not. I have a hard time cleaning my bathtub once in a while, so that determines whether I'm going to use that clay detox at that time or not. And essential oils, always put some essential oils in your bath. Do a quick muscle test, figure out what your body needs, and add those to your Epsom salt, baking soda, that type of a detox, or your bath recipe. I've just been kind of amazed how many recipes there are for detox baths and how expensive they are. And you can make them so easily. And I wish I would have thought to show you that I took some little containers to my grandkids one time, and I took the Epsom salt and my essential oils, and wow, they could measure a half a cup of Epsom salts and a tablespoon of baking soda. You see what I'm saying? And sprinkle, 10 drops of essential oil in and put a lid on it. And then they made their own label. So I helped them to make Christmas or birthday presents or whatever for, some of their family. And it was just a fun thing to do. So you can do that too. You don't have to buy your detox bath. There are just so many recipes, but it would be a nice gift whether you make it or whether you buy it. Respiratory detox. Wow. We've been sitting inside for maybe 2 years. We haven't, I guess I'm saying we, as in me, I haven't been exercising as much as I should have. And, once in a while going up and down the stairs, I can feel it. So a lung detox tea really does hit the spot for me. And I just love the way this diagram kind of made it look like a plant. And so then I could see in my mind how some of these different herbs would be very good for the lungs. So those recipes are all over for lung detox teas. They're very specific. So do the WAVwatch and do some tea. Have some tea at night before you go to bed or in the morning or whatever your schedule is. But add those to your lineup if you need to. We are just about finished. I know I've taken a little bit of time, but viral detox is one that I created. And this was just a short example. It does have the 741 hertz, and that's what it says. And so you can go online and you can listen to different frequencies. People have recorded them just for certain ideas. And this one is just one frequency. And it's supposed to be helpful for toxins, cleanse infections, virus, bacteria, and fungal. But the viral detox that I put together, I added frequencies for RNA and DNA protection, plus about 28 of, 28, 29 other frequencies besides the 741 hertz. So most of my frequency sets will have more than one, up to 30. And the only exceptions would be the emotional frequency sets. They just have one. So they are very hard to hear, but if you go ahead and run them, your body can feel them. So just a little idea there, kind of to close it out on how some of the frequencies are made. And again, it's just like a song. Sometimes your body is going to hum along. It's really going to move with some kind of an actual song that you're hearing. And your body can do the same thing with a certain frequency set. That's why there's different frequency sets, say for Mercury 1 detox, Mercury 2 detox. And maybe your body likes one of them, but it doesn't like the other one, So and you might feel it, just makes you a little uneasy. Most people don't notice too much if their body doesn't, sing with it. But it's obviously not going to be harmful to you because it is simply an acoustical sound. So I think that's about all I had to share with you today. Just letting you know that we are working with detox, and very, very important to do. So I really appreciate it if you pass the word around about the WAVwatch, if you share it on the your Facebook or whatever, let people know about WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics in the private Facebook group. And just thanks so much for coming on today. So I'm going to open it up and everybody can basically unmute themselves and share whatever they would like as we finish up the hour today. So hi, everybody.
Hi, Linda. This is Vicki Akers. And I just had a few.
There we go. Anybody have any comments?
Yes, this is Vicki. I had a few comments on
anything they'd like to share, any testimonies or anything like that.
Vicki, I can hear you. I guess Linda can.
Just unmute yourself and shout out a comment.
Well,
I wonder if her hearing is blocked or something. Her audio is blocked. Here, I can text her. Hang on.
Okay.
Linda, can you hear us?
We have a quiet session today, don't we?
I was saying good morning to her several times before the session even started. And yeah, somebody texting her.
Any comments about anything? It doesn't have to be about detox. That was kind of a harder one to have different testimonies on, because people do not know sometimes when they're detoxing. And somebody may not want to say, yeah, I looked when I flushed the toilet. So they may not tell me anything. So, let me know if you've had any ideas. Sure, Ann, go ahead.
Can you hear
I
me?
think you're unmuted, Ann. There you go. Can I hear you, Ann?
Ann, are you muted?
I can hear her. I can hear you guys, but she can't hear any of us.
Linda, I just texted Linda.
No, I just.
Yeah, I sent a text too.
Still there, Ann?
Oh gosh.
Oh, I'm eating if you're ready.
Can somebody hold up a sign to her on
Let's
the screen?
see. Oh yeah. Okay. Hey, hang on.
Write a Post-it note and put it up to her.
Linda, we can't hear you. You can't.
If she's not reading the chat,
Linda.
she's not going to get it.
Linda, can you hear us?
I finally can. But could everybody hear me when I was talking?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you could hear it.
It was a little clicked here. Okay, now I can hear you, Ann. Sorry about that. That was my computer.
You thought we were
I'm
being quiet.
Raising my hand. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. I was raising my hand to try to tell you to read the texts.
Okay, there we go.
I had a few
Okay.
comments.
Any suggestions for detoxing sugars?
Oh,
Not necessarily. I do have a whole folder. It's under self-care and it's bites, and stings. And I think the detox would be built into that. That's the best
Okay.
I could do, or possibly lymph nodes, so they would get into our lymph nodes, possibly.
Hey, Linda, I'll share on here what I shared with you as far as that, that unusual, excuse me, feeling I had kind of my left abdominal area.
Yes.
It was something that I couldn't feel it by pressing on in areas on my left-hand side. And just certain way I'd move, I just think like there is something in my body that I don't think is supposed to be there. And I'd had that sensation for quite a while. Finally broke down, went to the doctor, and she, felt around and ordered what was that? Not a sonogram. Anyway, some test for ovaries. And so I went and had that, nothing showed. Then she said, well, it's been a while since you've had your last colonoscopy. And I thought, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Anyway, so it dawned on me, every time I got out of my car, I've always wore something with a back pocket so I can count my quote unquote, count my steps that I was always taking. So I'd get out of the car and first thing I do is put my phone in my left back pocket.
mhm.
And I did that for a very,
Years.
very, very long
Yeah.
time. And, of course, I've had the watch for 2 years or when it first came out, and talking about the EMF and recently on one of our other calls. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna stop carrying my phone in my left rear pocket. I now stick it in my purse most of the time, so my steps aren't being counted other than when I do go out and take my exercise walk, I'll put it in a pocket in front. But that sensation, I haven't felt it since I stopped wearing my phone on my body constantly to count my phone.
Oh gosh, Dee, isn't that something?
So, I don't know. That's just, just something to think about as far as those EMFs.
Great testimony, because we don't know, like I just mentioned, the young gals that come in and that are sleeping at night with their phone in their bra and wearing their bra at night. What are they going to deal with when they get older because of that silly little mistake, So and I think I may have mentioned this one before, but another concerning one, and I would never have known except a lady came in who was about 82 years old, and she had a Lifeline alert, and she was crippled, so she kind of leaned sideways, and then when she was just setting up, her Lifeline alert was hanging right here. I'm kind of trying to show you on the video, but she developed breast cancer under her Lifeline alert within a short period of time. You couldn't miss it. So again, that was our point. Everybody's trying to stay away, especially in this group. I know I really appreciate your attention to details because it is important. It really is important. So other ideas to share?
This is Vicky. I had a few ideas on the cilantro. I did a detox with that one time, and I made a cilantro pesto. So it was very delicious. And so you could do that once a month if you wanted to.
Love it.
Use that. Also, dry brushing is a good way to help your lymph system move. I've used that in the past. And then you mentioned the Hertz, 741 Hertz.
Yes.
When I had the shingles so bad, I went back to, I didn't realize it was on the WAVwatch. So I went back to my old computer program that you had sold me the first time I met you. And I found that Hertz and I played that. And those were when I did that, it was the only nights I could sleep.
Oh, wow. I know
And
shingles.
It was wonderful to have that. And so now I know that it's on the WAVwatch, but at the time I didn't realize it. So that's a wonderful, wonderful hurts. It's just a really
And
healing.
it's actually in several programs, you know.
Yes, that's what you told me. That's
Yeah.
great. And then just something funny, I would say that Linda would tell us all, when we do our detox bath, don't wear your WAVwatch.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna pick on the guys. I've had a couple of the guys take showers with the WAVwatch, and I'm sorry, it's just not waterproof. Can't make it that way. Sorry. It's got an open speaker on the back. So one more comment about the shingles. I know I'm deaf, but I'm pretty sure that I heard yesterday that there was a 4,000% increase in shingles in the last couple of years.
Yes,
That's
it's
all.
related to COVID. That's where I have learned from several different health professionals that the virus awakens latent viruses that are in your body already, and it awakens them. So the shingles has just skyrocketed.
I mean, and you know, you can attest, Vicki, what you went through, you know, so at least you have something on your wrist that could be helpful. And for all those other viruses, you know, too.
Shingles was worse for me. I had COVID, and shingles was much, much worse than having COVID.
Oh,
It was
wow.
really, really difficult.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, a prevention, run through those virus sets once in a while, because if you know, it doesn't matter whether we've had the shot or not, or we've been around somebody that's had the shot, we could be more prone to some viruses that are latent, you know, and coming back in our system full throttle. So be preventive as much as possible.
Yes.
Other ideas? Anything else to share?
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, hello.
Okay, good, good. Well, I have a quick question for you. I know that you know Coach Jimmy, and
Yes.
what kind of wave does he use with his healing? Because it isn't, you know, our sound wave, and I don't think it's a EMP, but yeah, what kind of wave is that?
On the Detox, his other tool,
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming that's a
Yeah.
little bit more electrical, you know. And
Okay. Yeah, I think
I'm
it
not
is.
positive. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more electrical. So another little
Okay.
tidbit I just learned this weekend is that sound waves, according to one of our most famous inventors, oh, now my mind just went blank. Nikola Tesla, he tried to take sound waves from the earth and actually turn them. That's his whole chain, to turn them into free electricity for the world.
Okay.
Some of you may have heard stories that there might be some free electricity coming. I'm just saying, you know, I saw the scientific information behind it. Nikola Tesla was trying to, you know, with his contraptions, convert sound to electricity.
That'd be wonderful.
And yeah, sound from the earth. So anyway, that just made me think when you said, you know, ask about Jimmy's, and I believe his is an electric type idea.
Okay, would that go along with the sound? Is it, you know, a good compatible wave?
As far as I know, it would be, I would muscle test a little bit or do some kinesiology, you know. You might want to alternate them, but
Okay. Oh yeah, I use my WAVwatch every day. It's wonderful. Yeah, right now I used it on bites. I got a couple little spider bites and now they're not itching. So wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much.
you are welcome. And I don't know if anybody has a testimony, but if you're outside and there's a lot of mosquitoes, there is a mosquito repel on the WAVwatch, and I try it, and then I just kind of forget that I'm experimenting, and you know, evidently they're not bothering me because I don't think about it anymore. But if anybody has it,
yeah, I just noticed that when I turned on my bug bite.
Yep,
That's a good one to try.
Yep.
Is that under the self-care?
It is self-care and bites, I think.
Okay.
Bites and stings. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it works.
And I hate to say where I got some of these ideas, but there is a little tool that you can buy, and it is $40. It's not, terrible, but it is just for mosquito repel. And that's what it's made for. And it's for little kids or adults, and it has one frequency for mosquito repel. And I saw that idea, and I'm going, well, I can figure that out. So I was able to put a similar frequency on for the WAVwatch. So you have that frequency plus 850 others. So
All right. Wonderful. Thank you.
Linda, it's
You're welcome.
Jan.
Hi there.
Hi, and I've been going through the folder. Is there a subfolder for shingles? I can't seem to find the shingles.
Shingles is called herpes zoster.
Oh, thank you. I remember now that you said that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, thanks.
You are welcome. And I think there's more than one for herpes zoster, isn't there? So, that's a pretty big one.
Yes, there are 3.
Yeah. So hopefully one of those would work well for you, for somebody that needs it. It just kind of blows you away when you think of a 4,000% increase in shingles.
Yes, it's true.
So we have family and loved ones and friends that we can maybe share the WAVwatch with, if that's a need. It may not work for everybody, but you have that tool in your hands. All right, I think I'm getting close to winding down, unless anybody has something else that they'd like to share. All right, thank you for coming on this program today. I really appreciate it very, very much. We'll
Thanks
see you
for-
next week.
Thank you.